Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I'm your host, Adam Portrais, and I'm joined by Sweet Chauncey from the internet.
Initial D.
And, of course, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and who says I have to wait an extra year for a Fast and Furious movie?
Yeah, exactly. We're not going to the theaters. We're going to the Netflix this week to check out Initial D from 2005. And is it as good as a Fast and the Furious movie? Well, we'll talk about that. And maybe it's not. It's not. But we'll talk about whether or not that you should take the time to check that out. But before we do that, we do want to say a big giant thank you to everyone who helps support this show over at patreon.com/HMP. There you get the pre-show, post-show, and of course the Dinger Zone. And let me tell you guys, now's the time to jump in on this, and I'll tell you why. We recorded a Dinger Zone this week that is almost an hour long, just talking about the stuff that you could be doing in quarantine to not only entertain yourself, but also help your life, enlighten yourself, make yourself a better person, right?
Yeah.
So, we're giving out free life advice, but it's not exactly free. But check patreon.com/HMP. And as I said previously, all during the quarantine, if you're even at the, the $1 level and everything, you'll get all the stuff that everybody gets. Check it out. So we know that times are tough, and some people have moved some stuff around, and the other people have actually stepped up in that absence and helped things out. So, I mean, I do want to say a big old giant thank you out to Derrick. Derrick knows what he did. He's a longtime listener and everything, and he helped out the show outside of even his regular Patreon stuff. So, Derrick, thank you very, very much for that. And before we get into the show here proper, we haven't done this in quite some time, but I feel like it's time to. Let's do it.
Bale's here.
This one comes to us from longtime listener Brian. Guys, free time is a wonderful thing. When you covered I'm Not Okay With This, you gushed over how great it was, so I put off listening to the episode until I watched it, and I'm glad that I did. That show is terrific with a wonderful cast. Agree with Adam on the Derrick voiceover. I don't follow technical details like he so well articulated, but it was one thing that seemed off to me. I went on to watch with my extra free time The End of the Effing World. I'm Not Okay With This much better, but it was worth watching. So check it out, man. Since you plug your other shows, and I'm inherently lazy, I will take this opportunity to thank Bruce. I listened to a couple of Chubby Wizard bonus episodes with his kids, who are delightful and he should be very proud of. And they were a whole lot of fun. I most recently listened to the Dragon Lace episode he did with his daughter, and I was screaming at my phone over the pronunciation of certain names.
That's nothing new with me.
I mean, it's sometimes it's just Bruce, you do what you got to do. To Bruce's credit, he nailed Gold Moon, Flint, and Phase. I'm not going to read all these because it's going to make me sound like the dummy, and I just want that to be Bruce.
Yeah, Fizzband's an easy one.
Fizzband, but so basically he goes on for a little bit. I'll send Bruce the email so he will be able to read it all and enjoy it and stuff. But he thoroughly enjoyed those episodes there. Thanks for your help keeping me sane and entertained. Also, Errol Flynn as Robin Hood, The Adventures of Robin Hood, did a poor job of social distancing. And we'll probably cover that Errol Flynn Robin Hood in not too awful long. So that's from Ryan from Rockland, New York. Brian, thanks for the email there, buddy.
Yeah, and also something that Brian enjoyed was the Zorro movie in which Frank Langella, did I say that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Frank Langella plays Zorro.
I would like to see Frank Langella as Zorro because he's a big dude.
Streaming for free on YouTube if you ever want to check it out.
We may have to cover some more of these classic things, but according to some messages that we've gotten over Facebook, they're just like, get back to the stuff that we know. It's okay.
Yeah, they want a new release, but we can't do that.
Yeah, they're just like, why aren't we covering like all the newest stuff? It's like, we don't have all the new stuff. I mean, so, you're going to get a wide variety of stuff. And honestly, I think that's one of the cool parts about what we do with this show is, and one of the toughest things is that juggling act of like, hey, here's something new and kind of modern. Here's something that's a little bit off the beaten path of what we're doing. Here's something that we are fairly sure most people don't even know is related to a comic book. I mean, we're going to be doing one of those today. And next week as well. So it's a balancing act of all that kind of stuff, and it's not always as easy as you think, everybody. It's a tough thing that we do over here, especially week after week after week for coming up on 7 years we're doing. So
well, I knew it was good that we held on to the kitchen for a while.
Oh, yeah, dude. We're probably going to end up doing The Kitchen now. We didn't do it when it was a new release in theaters and stuff, but it's like on HBO and stuff right now. So we might be doing that in not too awful long just because it's something else that we can do. And we won't feel bad about, spending $8 or whatever it was to go to the theater and watch that. But thank you thanks to Brian and anyone else. If you would like to email us, hit us up at heromoviepodcast@gmail.com. We really appreciate it. Let's close up the mailbag.
Bale's here.
Not gonna lie to you, boys. That feels good. Been a while. But let's get into it. Here is no, wait. I'm not gonna do a trailer for Initial D because it's not in English. It would just be a whole bunch of music and a language the majority of our listening audience does not know. So let's not do that. Here's the IMDb plot line, though. After winning his first competition, Takumi focuses his attention on drift racing, a sport that he has unknowingly perfected while delivering tofu in his father's Toyota AE86. That's tough to say really quickly. But as I said previously, this is based on a comic book. You know what time it is.
It's time for Bruce's Comic Book Connection.
Bruce, what do you got?
Well, in full disclosure, I have to admit I was not familiar with Initial D prior to Adam's movie suggestion. In fact, based on the title, I thought it might be the story of a geisha entertaining her first client, but fortunately for me, it was about drifting on curvy roads in Japan, a movie genre I'm already kind of familiar with thanks to Lil Bow Wow. But Initial D was originally a manga series written by Shuichi Shigano, and boy, do I know how our listeners love to hear me pronounce Japanese names and words. The comic ran in Weekly Young Magazine from 1995 to 2013. Something cool to know about the manga, or about the manga's writer, is that he owns a 1980s Toyota Sprinter Truino with a panda white color scheme, like Initial D's main character Takumi. I think that's kind of like how Paul Walker owned a car just like the car he drove in Fast and Furious, but different. It's probably worth noting that Initial D isn't Shigano's first manga. His first one was Berry Berry Legend, and it was an entirely different kind of story because it was about motorcycle racers. Now, Initial D focuses on the world of illegal Japanese street racing with the drifting racing style emphasized. Professional race car driver and pioneer of drifting, Keiichi Tsuchiya, helped with editorial supervision. I bet I nailed that one. The story is about 18-year-old Takumi Fujiwara, who's an average high school kid. His father, Bunta Fujiwara, owns a tofu shop, and Takumi is the delivery boy. He uses his father's Panda 1983 Toyota Sprinter Truino GT Apex AE86 to do the deliveries. Takumi hated driving because he was forced to drive since he was in middle school, but the deliveries train his extraordinary driving skills. His friends learn about his skills and introduce Takumi into the world of Touge racing. Takumi eventually loves street racing and driving altogether, and then he has only one priority: to become the best driver in Gunma Prefecture. I tell you, it's like I'm reading the story of my own life there. But Touge racing is a type of racing centered around the Touge, a Japanese word literally meaning pass that I almost certainly mispronounced, though it's only 4 letters long. It refers to a mountain pass or any of the narrow, winding roads that can be found in and around the mountains of Japan and other geographically similar areas. In order to decrease the incline of mountain roads, thereby making them easier for commercial trucks to pass, engineers place a series of S-bends in the steep roads that provide access to and from high mountain elevations. These passes have become popular with street racers and motorsport enthusiasts because they provide both a challenging and dangerous course. Now, as of July 2013, collected volumes of the Initial D manga series sold 48 million copies, which I would say qualifies as successful. Its gross sales are the equivalent of $416.09 million US dollars. Now, nothing I've written has ever grossed over $400 million bucks. Have you guys ever done that?
Not over, just slightly.
Okay. Well, the manga inspired an anime that also did well, though Anime News Network reviewer Bamboo Dong gave it a B-. Now, you guys know why I singled out that review, right?
Dong.
Bamboo.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that guy's mom and dad named him Bamboo Dong? Or do you think it's just some hilarious American guy using the world's clever pseudonym? Gee, I hope it's his real name. I hope it's kind of like the original Wonder Woman artist, Harry Peters. But anyway, the manga also inspired a trilogy of animated films called Legend 1, Legend 2. For some reason, I can't remember the name of the third movie, but I'm sure you can look. Oh, I just remembered. It's Legend 3. There were also over 20 video games inspired by the racing comic. And though I haven't played any of them, I'd imagine they are racing games. So I guess if street racing is your thing and you like it in a series of black and white drawings that are read right to left, back to front, Initial D is the thing for you.
Yeah. So can we get some context here first?
Sure.
Because Adam, how did you pull this out? Like, what made you think, hey, let's watch Initial D?
Well,
because you're the one who came up with this.
Yes. So well, initially it came from just kind of seeing what was on Netflix there. I saw the name. I knew that I knew it was based on a comic because I'd heard that before because I had actually seen the video games. Like there's several arcade games and stuff. And some of them, you see a couple of them here, but it's usually, across the pond there that you would see a bit more of those machines and stuff. But you did see some here. So I was like, you know what? I know that's a comic book thing. And I'll be honest with you, one of the big reasons that I thought, hey, let's give this a shot is you got your boy Anthony Wong in this. And Anthony Wong he plays the dad. And he is in a boatload of stuff, but I think the things that people would probably most recognize him for was he was in the Infernal Affairs movies, which the director of this actually did those movies, and of course the 1992 absolute classic Hard Boiled. And come on, I'm a big John Woo guy. So
go to there.
Hard Boiled is just absolutely fantastic. If you've never seen that, I wish we would have watched that. Is Hard Boiled based on a comic? We need to watch that
because that 15 minutes and it can be.
We can come up with something. We got to connect that to comics like we connect Stallone to all this stuff. Good luck with that by the end of this episode, by the by. But that's what initially made me want to watch this. Was I was just like, okay, I'm aware of this. It's a car movie. It's off the beaten path of what we normally do, which is very superhero based. So let's give this a shot. And here's the thing. You're absolutely right. There were a couple of times before this where I would just like Lone Wolf and Cub, boom, out of the park. What was the other one that I did that was a good one?
Super Lopez. There's no reason that should have been good. It was fantastic. We were taking a gamble here, and I feel like if the words had not come out of Bruce's mouth, this might have been good. You rolled the dice, and you crapped out.
Hey, man, it happens.
I totally disagree.
Okay.
Let's hear it then.
I love this movie.
Good.
I love this movie. This movie is so weird, to my American sensibilities. I love I love that I can't guess what's coming a lot of the time with the comic relief. I know, the fat kid. Like I know that guy's just going to keep crapping out. Like that's always going to happen. But for the most part, there's things in this movie where you're like, what now? I kept saying that over and over again. Like, so this guy who was throwing up earlier is actually the secret best racer on this hill, I guess, is what we're on.
It's Gunma Prefecture.
And he got good. How? Because he delivers tofu for his dad. Like that's how he became a great racer.
Yeah, and apparently a lot of tofu deliveries at like 3 a.m. because he's talking about he goes out to deliver the tofu at 3 a.m.
Exactly.
And I don't know if that's a really late tofu delivery or a really early tofu delivery because this is going to expose my lack of tofu knowledge as we talk about.
It's just a gelatinous cube of.
And I do want to get this out of the way up front. Itsuki is my favorite character in this movie.
And that's the fat kid?
Yeah. I just thought I'd get that out of the way so we didn't have that hanging over us like some sort of Damocles.
Because Sean and I couldn't have picked that out as your favorite character of every character that's in here. Would have been a real hard scramble for us to put that together.
And this movie may also expose some of our lack of cultural experience or knowledge, because this is a Hong Kong production, but it's based on a Japanese manga. It takes place in Japan. Some of the actors are Japanese. Some of the actors are Chinese. I don't know if they filmed in Japan or not. So we may, it may show that sometimes I can't tell the difference in some aspects that might be more Chinese than Japanese.
From what it looks like they actually, because this is like a famed road for this kind of stuff. So they filmed there. So this was like, at least that bit was filmed in Japan from what I understand. Because
once again, could be exposing my absolute lack of knowledge. But like when I'm seeing the characters on the awning outside the tofu shop and stuff, some of that to my untrained eye looked more Chinese than Japanese.
I mean, this is, I guess, essentially for a Chinese audience mostly, because that's where most of these people.
I mean, that's where it made most of its money.
I do not know. All I know is that it is insane. It is all over the place. And we mentioned Fast and the Furious. So this came out in 2005. By this point, 2 Fast and Furious movies are out. And there's a lot of this movie that is so clearly aping a lot of Fast and the Furious stuff, from the just the racing itself in general to going inside of the car and seeing like pistons moving and stuff like that, and some of the wild and crazy camera stuff. But the big difference is that the Fast and Furious,
like a $5 million budget, though.
Yeah, the Fast and Furious movies had even those first 2 had a lot of money behind them. There's not a lot of money behind this, and in a lot of ways it shows.
But this did come out a year before Tokyo Drift. So then you start to wonder, did this movie have any influence at all on Tokyo Drift?
I'm gonna say
or at least the manga this movie's based on.
Maybe, listen, I'll give you maybe a little bit of manga. I could definitely see that, but I don't think that anyone saw this and was just like, we need to do that.
Because Edison Chen, the actor, he's a Canadian actor who plays the leader of the Red Suns. He was offered a role in Tokyo Drift and turned it down. So I didn't know if they were familiar with him from this movie, or if it's just because he's an actor who happens to be Asian that they were just trying to get anybody they could.
I don't know, because a lot of these guys, like I said, outside of Anthony Wong, I don't think I really recognize most anybody in this movie.
The kid Jay Chow, who plays the main kid, the central character, if I read correctly, he was Kato in the Green Hornet.
Yes, I still have yet to see that, actually, and I can't believe that we've yet to cover it on this show.
That seems like a no-brainer for us to cover.
We might try to put that in.
We've never covered that, the Seth Rogen one.
No, we didn't, and it's tough because like he was replacing Stephen Chow in that flick, and Stephen Chow is like freaking amazing. So like that, honestly, that's what like made me never watch that movie. I was just like, because Stephen Chow was supposed to be Kato and direct it. I was just like, dude, this is gonna be amazing. And for whatever creative things, he ended up dropping out, and that put a stink on that movie ever since.
Man. Before we watched this movie, did you realize how much it would have people attempting to look up skirts?
Well, no, but it's also not ultra surprising. There's still, here's the thing. This is made in 2005, but this feels like at best a movie that was made in 1997.
Even the dad's trying to look up the high school girl's skirt when she comes over to the house.
Yeah, there's nothing good about a lot of stuff in here. That's certainly one of them.
What did you like about it, Sean? You said you really enjoyed it. Oh, I can't disagree with that.
I mean, it's a good point overall. It makes total sense. But for me, it's just what I do. And here's the thing. I kind of poo-poo a little bit, but I do like this. I think probably a little bit more than you. Maybe not quite as much as Sean, and we'll figure all that out exactly. But first of all, it's overly long. This movie is just under 2 hours, but it feels like it's about 3. For a movie about racing, it goes along at a snail's pace.
Well, I didn't dislike it. Maybe I wasn't being fair on it there at the beginning. I didn't dislike it at all. Just it's not Super Lopez. But the racing is a big part of it, though. Like, how well do they execute the racing is going to, what your opinion is of the racing has to color your opinion of the whole thing. And I think they did some of the racing good, but then it became obvious after about the fourth crash with no real consequences that they didn't have enough money to actually crash cars.
Yeah.
No, but that's a bit of the charm for this movie for me, is that, it's so, the best way to describe it is like, for me, this is what the Speed Racer movie should have been. Not that gigantic cacophony of lights and sound that the Wachowskis made. Like this is what it should have been, where it's weird. There's so many like little charming moments where you're just like, okay, yeah, we get it. Like he's shy, and he's always bored when he's driving. Our main character.
There's no better way to show the excitement of racing than have your character like he's like the Flash. He's just so used to going fast bores him now. So like he's practically yawning as he's careening down this thing at 100 miles per hour. It's hilarious.
And I mean that is literally what the story for this movie. That's literally what the story is for me. Is just it is so bloody charming, this entire movie to me. And yes, it's weird, and we'll get to certain things about this movie where you're just like, oh really, that's the way you're gonna play that? Well, they would never do that in America, so I'm gonna give that a big thumbs up. But there are times where you're just like, oh man, that hits wrong when you're watching this movie. But that's kind of what makes it so fun for me, because I was like 10 minutes into watching this thing, and I was watching it with Mrs. Kovacs, and she was like, I'm sorry, I can't watch this. Like this is unwatchable for me.
I don't know why.
So I totally understand why, but certain people are going to watch this thing and be like, why would you possibly like this? I find it so charming and weird, and something that's just so utterly different that you don't know beat by beat what's going to happen next in this thing, because anything can happen. And that's kind of why I love it. Like at some point there's a couple of moments, and one of the moments that I really want to get to here is that at some point, one of the bad guy racers, I guess you call it, with the leather jackets with the studs on them.
That's how you know he's bad.
Just for funsies, is like, you know what? I'm going to attempt to murder this person with a vehicle, and okay, like that's just what I'm going to do. That's what racers do, right?
Oh
yeah. It's so bizarre to me. Like, and we've never seen this person before, but we know he's a bad guy because he's wearing a leather studded jacket,
and he's got like a super deep voice.
Right.
He's got the word impulsive written in English across the back of his jacket.
So much of this movie, like as far as like the style and presentation and stuff, like specifically that and the soundtrack, it feels like what they would do. Like, okay, let's say you go watch an American movie, right? And they're like, hey, here's all this cool, this Hong Kong flavor that we're throwing in there. And they're throwing in music that to our only English speaking selves goes like, hey, this kind of jams. This is pretty cool. This sounds like some really, really rockin' rad music. But if you were to listen to it in its native tongue, it's like, it'd be absolutely terrible and stupid. And that's how it is with this. We hear that English language stuff and you're like, oh, this is awful. No American would be like, this
If you
rocks.
have a white guy rapping in your rap song, and it's not Eminem or the Beastie Boys, no sale.
Oh, man. Me and my Vanilla Ice heads don't like that.
It's so poorly done where you're just like, did they think that like, oh, this is like cool American music? Like, this is what this is like. They've got access.
They do. Of course they do.
Now, what you need to know is the music we heard when we watched this was the music for the American release. This was not the music in Asia that was accompanied this movie.
Oh boy,
we went to the trouble to add that stuff in just for our benefit.
I would much rather hear it with their music.
Yeah,
it's got to be now. And I'll say this to you. Speaking of Stephen Chow and everything, if you're going to watch Shaolin Soccer, watch their version, not the Miramax version that does go through and replaces all the music, and it's terrible. That music is awful. The music in the original is way better. You're right. I wish we would have had that choice here.
You know, this is weird, but I think if you look for Kung Fu Soccer, you might get that original you're talking about instead of looking for Shaolin Soccer.
Really?
I could be wrong. Yeah. I could be
because I've watched Shaolin Soccer. I liked it.
Yeah, I watched it a long time ago and enjoyed it.
The original was it's very, very good. It's that great over the top Stephen Chow action. If you like his stuff, you'll definitely like that.
Now, I do like the random American T-shirts Takumi wears. Like he has one that just says St. Paul, and it makes me think, man, that guy really belongs in Minnesota.
Well, see, and there's a lot of
like junior colleges and stuff. I think it's great.
Yeah, me too.
Because it's just as silly as, you know, the white people here just wearing shirts that they don't know what it says. It's just like, hey, that's got some cool kanji on it. That's what I'm putting on it because it looks cool.
Little do we know it says Bunta's Tofu Hut.
Exactly. It's just like, oh yeah, it's a tofu place.
Now, what did you guys think of the love story going on here? I don't know. Would you call this a love triangle or complicated love story?
It is my favorite part of this movie. I'm not even kidding. It is the thing I never saw coming, where it is baffling to me, which I love. I love that. If you were watching this movie, there is no way, and you knew nothing about it like I didn't. I didn't know anything about this at all. There's no way at the end of where this movie ends, you're not like, oh yeah, of course that's where that's going to end. No one in a million years is going to guess where that thing's going. And that is that right there. It is the thing that pulled it over the top for me, where I was like, I've never seen that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I've never seen that in a movie before, or a movie like this before, where you're just like, well, that is a way for that to go.
And bold choice, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off.
Oh my God, man. It's so weird. It's so weird.
And that weird love story is why I was asking if you thought maybe this had a little influence on Tokyo Drift, because they have a very similar weird situation with the girl who's dependent on the guy who's not blood relation to her, but instead it's more like his son that she's forced into the relationship with. But I just felt that dynamic seemed similar to me.
Man, I've only watched Tokyo Drift once, and I was sick as a dog when I saw it. And I just remember the very end when Vin Diesel comes out at the end, and I was like, "Oh wow!" So he gets Riddick for showing up for literally 2 minutes. Okay, great.
And they've kind of got like the same character that Han plays as the guy that runs the D racing team that's trying to recruit Takumi through this. But Takumi and Lucas Black, very different characters.
Oh man!
Oh boy!
Come on. Let's talk about this movie. As much as I love it, this movie could have used a little Han.
A little Han Sol O is his full name.
Oh, I know. I'm very aware, and I'm sure you've used like adjectives to describe that, like delicious and pun. I'm sure you have. But this movie could have used a little bit of Han, because it is the one for my American tastes. It needs that one person who is a solid dude, because there is no one in this movie that's just like a solid person. You know what I mean? Like there's nowhere where you can go, well, at least I can hang my hat on that thing, on that guy. There is not a single human being in this movie where you're like, well, he seems to have it all together.
Yeah, he's all over the place. He's they're shy, and then they're shy to 1,000,000 degrees. It's like he's a decent looking guy. She's a decent looking lady. She's throwing herself at him, and he's just like, I don't know how human interaction works. This all seems strange to me.
I do like it. I like some of their dates though. They have interesting stuff. Like they go on the date where he chokes on a bun. This is from Sean's point of view. Like I've never seen an American-made movie where the guy chokes on a bun in the date, and it's not like an over-the-top American Pie style comedy.
Right.
But he's trying not to talk to her. She's opening up, and he's just like, I can't say anything. I'm too nervous. I'm too awkward. I'm going to keep shoving buns in my mouth until I'm literally choking.
And to be honest, her Heimlich procedure technique was all wrong. That never would have dislodged that.
You know how you lodge it out by, popping the sternum?
And then I just got to talk a little bit about how weird their beach date is. So it starts before the beach date, because she's really talking up her bathing suit. She's saying she got this super sexy swimsuit with the least amount of material she could find, is what she specifically said. She shows up wearing somebody
The equivalent of what Daisy Duke wears from episode to episode.
Yeah, I mean, no. Daisy Duke would wear sometimes like her shorts. Daisy Duke's cutoff jeans covered less than the bottom on this swimsuit. Like she showed up in what, like if an Amish person was finally allowed to wear a bikini, this is what it would look like.
It's like it's practically a halter top.
I mean, seriously, she and shorts. Those are shorts, not like bathing suit bottoms necessarily. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with what she's wearing, but this is a case of over promising and under delivering.
She talks about how it's just this real sexy thing, and you could tell that he's just like, oh boy, I don't really. This is all crazy. And then when he gets there, it'd be hilarious if he was just like, oh, what the hell is this? Come on.
I'm just gonna say, you show up for a Fast and Furious shoot wearing that, they're sending you home and telling you to put on less and come back.
That's true, unless like you're like a cop or something.
Yeah.
Did you steal 4 people's wardrobe and put it on? How did this happen?
And then once we move beyond her absolute misrepresentation of her bathing suit, which wasn't necessary, she should have just said, "Hey, let's go to the beach.
It'll be nice and fun." Yeah, that's all you should have sold it as.
Sell the fact that she's trying to, trollop herself up on this. She shows up in the Amish bathing suit, and then the centerpiece of the date is her taking pictures of the evidence of child abuse on this guy's back.
Yes.
That's awkward. But kind of cool.
And also, by the way, now that is, I think this is our second episode in a row where you have come up with something that sounds like a sexual term that isn't the Amish bathing suit. So now we have the Amish bathing suit. We have the fuzzy Dutchman. Like we're really gathering them together.
Oh, we got a thing we're good at, so we got to keep being good at it.
Agreed. So here's the thing, right? So this is the part where like it's just so like head scratching, which is again the thing that I really love about this movie, which is that it's so the main character's dad. They seem to play the alcoholism like it's a hilarious joke that he's like just a fall down drunk all the time.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But then on top of that, he beats his son, and he's considered basically a good person because he's able to soup up his car better than anyone else in the area.
No, he's considered a good person because he was a great racer like 20 years ago, 18 years ago. Like it's even worse than the fact, like he doesn't go around souping up anybody else's car. That's just because it's like the guy that was a high school football star. So the cops don't answer the domestic violence calls from his house 18 years later.
Right. Exactly. And he like, I count no less than 3 times where main character has to grab dad by the feet and drag him to another location and
change his underwear. Like when we first meet his dad, the son's got to change his underwear for him.
I mean, come on. Like, and this is all hilarious. It is done because it is so funny.
I dropped my dad down a flight of stairs and he bashed his head against the wall. Hilarious.
Oh man. And there's that moment where I guess we're supposed to wonder if dad's dead or not. And then he moves a little bit. So we know he's not dead.
Right. There's a whole lot to recommend this movie. I don't think that the alcoholic, abusive father is one of the things to recommend this movie.
That being said, he is running what seemingly is a pretty decent tofu place because they're getting business at 4:00 in the morning. As drunk as he is, he apparently gets some stuff done. We see him messing around with tofu only once in the film, but apparently he's so good at it that it doesn't matter the entire time how drunk he is during the rest of the day.
My theory is he's so bad at tofu that people only order it at the hours good tofu places aren't open. That's why all the deliveries are 3 in the morning.
That's probably.
It's kind of like some people will go to Taco Bell really late because that's their only option. But also the way they keep the sugar daddy in shadow throughout this, like this mysterious sugar daddy that his girlfriend keeps going and prostituting herself with. I think that's exactly what it is. They keep him in shadow. Like at the end, they're going to reveal that it's his best friend's dad or something, like why do you keep somebody in shadow the whole time if there's no reveal to be had?
It's true.
That actor was just like, you're not ruining my reputation. I'm going to be in the shadows all of the time. You're not going to let other people know who I am. I took this role on account of anonymity, so no.
And also, when this story starts unfolding, if this was an American movie, it would be that the best friend like misunderstood the situation that was happening. But he doesn't misunderstand anything. He's nailed it. He has nailed it.
He's got it right from the get-go. And man,
so I'm waiting for that Three's Company flip to happen with this storyline. And when it doesn't happen, it is just one of the most jaw-dropping things I've ever seen in a movie like this.
Plus, at the end, man, as cynical as I am or anything, at the end, I still thought they were going to be together, like the happy ever after. But no, at the end, the happy ever after is now that he's free of that girl, he can go join the racing team.
It's so strange and so charming and such like I keep telling you guys, like I've said from the beginning of this episode, there is no less than 5 times I'm watching this movie where I'm like, what now?
And I feel like we get not one, but maybe 3 separate scenes that are extended. And by extended, I mean maybe 2 minutes, but that's too long when it's someone cleaning vomit off of the fat guy's face.
Yes.
Like, and then he's like very, very confident, I guess, because the same young lady who spends time cleaning vomit off of his face, he tries to kiss several times later. That's usually one of those like deal breakers.
But here's the thing: we've all known those dudes, though.
And just because I don't understand the culture at all, maybe you guys understand it a bit better than I do. So this fat kid, the comic relief fat kid, is he supposed to be a rich kid?
That's a good question.
A gas station, so I think so. And he got kicked out of school and doesn't seem to care.
Yeah, I think that's the impression that we're supposed to get. But like, I've never looked at someone who owns a gas station and been like, they got the bread over there at the gas. And there's so many people that are employed at this gas station. They've got like 15 workers, and they're all on the same shift.
It looks very successful. It looks to me like small town rich, like. Sure. You're in a smaller town, and the guy that his dad might be making $150,000 a year, but a lot of other people's dads are making minimum wage, so it's like relatively rich, but not real big time rich.
I mean, I guess I can kind of think about this because, like, in the small town that I grew up in, there was like a guy whose family did own a gas station, and they were like, it's a small gas station, but it was like one of those ones that you can also eat into, so they had kind of like a sort of shoddily put together restaurant in there as well, where they just serve kind of regular diner food and things like that, and it's where people hung out and smoked because that's what you could do back then. Yeah, I guess like, and their family seemed to be like okay. I don't think anyone would say that they were rich, but hey, you got your name on the top of a gas station for crying out loud. I guess that's a little something.
And it's like if your bank account's 0 in the morning, you're going to take in cash that day, so you have money for stuff like almost every day.
And I do like how the how his son just kind of goes through and pilfers through the register whenever he needs to.
Something that's very lost in translation on a couple of levels is when he tells his dad he wants $1 million yen. I don't know, is $1 million yen like $20,000? Is it $150? I don't know what $1 million yen is. I know it's less than $1 million, but that's it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, like, a lot of times, you'll get subtitles and stuff that are very accurate to what's being said on screen, sometimes too accurate. And then there are other times where, they'll kind of Americanize it a little bit or just say, like $100. Just call it bucks or something. You don't have to necessarily even say dollars or whatever. But
yeah,
the conversion is very just like, hey, that sounds like a boatload of money. I don't know if you're going to find $1 million in that cash register.
Or it could have been like, sure, and he pulls out 3 coins. Like, I wouldn't know. Like, not only is there the translation issue, the exchange rate now, then there's the exchange rate in 2005. Then, like, did the Hong Kong moviegoers know what they were doing when they picked that number? So I still don't know if that was an unreasonable amount of money to ask for.
What if he's asking for $20, And Dad's being like a real hard ass, and you're like, no.
Well, he wants to buy a car, but he wants to buy like a 1985 Toyota. So it might be $600 or it might be $6,000, but I don't know which one.
He doesn't look like the type of kid that could fix it up, I don't think. That's just the vibe
part
I
of
get.
The joke, because he gets a car that looks just like the other kids, but it's just not as good as Takumi's because it's not been tuned and everything.
How many times do you think he throws down the God line all day long? Because that is the bell that this kid is ringing constantly, just going like, hey, let me tell you about gods and humans. God is only somebody that can do things a little bit better than a human. And like he's setting himself up to be the driving god all the time. And it's just like, this kid's, I'm amazed he's got his own license.
So I just did the conversion. $1 million yen is $9,200 in US dollars.
Okay, so not cheap.
In 2005, it could have been twice or half too.
True. But not a small sum.
A lot to take out of the cash register, but not like $100,000.
Right.
Man, I'll tell you this much: if you have anything over than maybe if you did a great day, $400 in your cash register, you better learn drops real quick, because that's you're setting yourself up there to be robbed.
Yeah. From both inside and outside.
Oh yeah, of course. It's like, what happened to all this money? I had to buy a Supra.
I bet all the people that pilfered cash from the register hated to see the debit cards become ubiquitous like they are.
This is creating a paper trail. I don't like any of this.
And also, I kind of got the idea like he's a naturally good racer, but part of why he's so good is that unbeknownst to him, he's driving this super car. But it kind of loses some of his effect, because at one point he drives his friend's car and he's still like super good at it. So I didn't know if that's supposed to be a little bit of, yeah, you're good, but you're not as good as you thought, or if it's supposed to be, yeah, you're as good as you thought, but this makes you better.
What are you talking about? He drove it just as well. He barely skidded into that one thing.
Yeah, they made it. They made it sound like he fell off the Grand Canyon, but they dinged up the passenger side light a little bit.
I'll tell you one time this movie got me good. I mean, we don't care about being in any kind of chronological order here, right?
No, I don't think so.
Spoilers, guys. This movie really got me good, because by the end of the movie, I've kind of gotten, okay, if there's a race, they're going to hit some rubber barrels. They're going to hit a guardrail made out of cardboard. Like, they can't afford to mess up these cars. So at the end, when the bad guy in their three-way race runs off the road and they just cut away real quick, I'm like, oh, great. They're doing like the off-screen crash. And then about 3 seconds later, when they're going around the curve, the car falls like right behind them. And it was just awesome to me, because I'd totally given up on seeing that car fall, and it came out of nowhere. And for some reason, it really.
That being said, that is the weakest CGI in this entire film.
Yes.
Because it's just like, oh, that was cheaply done. But I understand why you had to do it that way, because you can't do that to a real car with the budget of this film.
I wish they just had gotten a miniature set, like Godzilla style, and just dropped a toy car.
It'd have been about as effective. And the guy, like, when he's finished, he's just kind of walking. Like, that's how the car is just destroyed. He's just kind of walking with his jacket on, looking like a complete and utter tool. Just kind of like, well, guess I don't have a car anymore.
He was dead, I mean, he probably should have died from that. The car fell off a cliff.
I guess one of the other tough parts is that, like, they're always racing on the same road. And, like, I think that, these Fast and Furious films have got us spoiled a bit, because they do so much in those movies. It's like, here's a set piece, here's a set piece, here's a set piece. And they're all so crazy and over the top. They're like, we got one road.
Man, I like that they do have the little gimmick in it, which is the trick that I guess the professionals don't know that Takumi does know, or something like that, is you put your wheels in the gutter and you don't fly off the road going around a curve too fast. I might have to try that one out next time I borrow my wife's car.
But it's...
And I like when the fat kid shows up to race in his mom's minivan.
Oh, that was super awesome. And then he's pissed that they won't let him. I'm the racing god. You got to let me do it, guys. Come on. Oh, they're just dragging him off there. And I love how Dad shows up for the final race and everything. And he is drunk off his butt. And every single lady there is just like, ooh, all right. They're all hanging off of his every word and moment. And it's just...
And something I saw in this movie that I like as a cultural thing is, I think, calling every old guy uncle. Like, you notice that? Like, they've never met him before, but they call him uncle. I wish that would catch on over here.
Yeah, that's...
Call old guys uncle.
That's, from what I understand, just kind of like a way of respect. That's all it is. It's like, hey, I know this guy. I want to, show him some respect, and I refer to him in this familial way, and therefore it's just like, hey, no, we're on the same page here. I respect you. You're an older.
Yeah, like when all the 16-year-old girls say, "Sorry, uncles, this is girls only," and the creepy uncles say, "Yeah, why do you think we're here?" or something like that.
Yeah, well, there
and
is that
there's
aspect.
parts of this that I watch, and I'm like, is that really kind of the way things were in Japan in 2005? Or is this what China thinks things were like in Japan in 2005? Or is this what they think we think it's like? Like, I'm just really curious about the underlying psychology of some of these weird things that happen.
Bruce,
or is this what China was like and they or Hong Kong was like and they just projected it on Japan?
What you don't understand is that this was a documentary and the events occurred in real time.
But strangely, it all happened in Minnesota.
Yeah, look, here's the thing. It's over the top. It's crazy. I guess my biggest gripe with it is that our lead just, I get that he needs to be awkward and have all this stuff, but he has absolutely zero charisma. Or at least his character does. They play it that way. And I think that's one of the biggest problems is that, like, you can't get behind this kid too much because you don't feel anything coming from him.
You might have nailed something there.
Yeah.
Because it's like the stakes don't feel high. It's like you kind of want him to do good on this date, but this girl's just throwing herself at him, and he's just like, I don't know how to handle any of this, and now I guess I'll just do it by running away. Sure, but I don't know. I just have like weird gripes like that, and then Anthony Wong's character just being absolutely obliterated all the time, and it really goes nowhere. There's no catharsis for this character just about at all.
Not only that, they don't really make a point to say that it's bad that he's totally drunk off his butt every time we see him.
It's why I love it. That's why I love this movie. Is that like we don't need it? We don't need to have a character arc for that. So the guy's a drunk. Like I that's what makes it so great to me.
That's why he gave up driving.
Gave up driving so I could be drinking, They told me I can't do both at the same time. I picked drinking. Makes total sense to me. Well, before we wrap this here program up, we have to ask ourselves one of the most important questions is how this movie from 2005 relates back one-to-one with Sylvester Stallone. We've got quite the uphill battle here.
Thank you, Adam. No, seriously, Adam, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. For recommending this movie. Thank you, Adam. Thank you. Kuantan's Animation Company distributed both Initial D and Sylvester Stallone's Rambo from 2008. That's your Stallone connection this week. And let me just say this. I know it isn't a satisfying Stallone connection, but the movie we watched this week is a manga-inspired Asian film that stars children driving down a hill. I like Initial D. It's a very weird piece of pop culture that surprised me a good bit. However, this Stallone connection right here, this ranks a 9 on the degree of difficulty. But what about the drunk dad who beats his son for comedy's sake? Has he ever worked with Stallone? No. What about the girl who plays the love interest who is also secretly a prostitute? Also no. Can we do something easy next week? Something that doesn't take a full week to find the Stallone connection? Because holy hell. I don't think I've ever brought this up on the show before, but for some reason, when 90% of Asian people see me in real life, and this is absolutely true, they hate me. It's true. Instantly, I would say it's because of the way I look, but I grew up down the street from an Asian family that hated me when I was a child. I mean, like the entire family. The entire family hated me. Brother, sister, the parents would yell at me. I was like 7. It was like 7. They're all yelling at me. I thought maybe it was just their family, but when I went to high school, same deal. Back when I went to a therapist, I talked about this. And my therapist, although he didn't say it in so many words, he said that I was being racist. I'm not being racist. I like Asian people. I dig Asian people. Asian people don't dig me. And I don't think it's Asian people being racist. I think it's specifically me. If anyone has any thoughts on this matter, I'd love to hear from them. Contact me through Twitter at Sean Kovacs 4. And that's your Stallone connection this week. Kuantan's Animation Company. I'm Sean Kovacs. You're welcome?
I guess. I don't know.
So I've got to ask just real quick, Sean. When you were a kid and that monkey attacked you, right? Did he belong to the Asian family?
No. Different family.
It would have made the story just a little bit even better.
No. Different family.
Okay.
Well, we're not attacking monkeys over here. We're reviewing superhero and comic book related films. And here we have our own patented Robin rating system. If you'd like to check that out, head on over to facebook.com/Hero Movie Podcast. Right there at the top of the screen. Bruce, where does Initial D from 2005 fall on the Robin rating system for you?
I'm kind of curious because they've been working on a sequel for about 15 years, and I think it might finally get made soon. So I want to see how the sequel plays out. But I'm just going to say, for me, this was not a Lone Wolf and Cub. This was not a Super Lopez. It didn't reach any of that level of satisfaction, but there were moments I found it interesting. You know, I didn't dislike it, even though there's stuff that's easy to laugh at and make fun of. That doesn't mean I didn't enjoy some parts of the movie. Like you said, Adam, it felt like it could have been tightened up a little bit, been a little bit shorter, but still, all in all, I think it's like one of those good Damian Waynes. You know, Damian Wayne, you can say that as a positive or a negative. I want to accentuate the positive, but it's still a Damian Wayne for me.
That makes sense. What do you got, Sean?
I really enjoyed this movie, like a lot. I would give this movie a very low Tim Drake. I really do enjoy this movie.
Wow.
It's weird, but it's so charming, and so that I'm giving it a Tim Drake.
Very good. Surprising, but I'll take it. For me, this is a tough one, but like I had to this is like 2 or 3 different sittings to try to get this all through, and I hate doing things like that, so that really tells you that it was a bit of a slog for me to get through. But Sean is right in as much as there is so much wacky, crazy stuff going on here. The swings of emotion and tone are all over the map, and a lot of this, I think, kind of comes back to really the history of a lot of Hong Kong cinema. Is that when cinema just became a thing in Hong Kong, it was really done as kind of a very peasant sort of thing. That's where everyone would go. People didn't have a lot of money, and they kind of wanted to experience everything throughout the and it's a lot of Asian countries were actually like this with cinema. They wanted to have everything. They wanted the highs, they wanted the lows, they wanted action, they wanted drama, they wanted comedy. Put it all in there because they don't get to go to the movies too often, so they want to have a little bit of everything. This feels like a small vestige of that, where it's like we feel like we've got to do just a little bit of everything in here. And so it may be all over the map for some people, but if you can embrace that and kind of live in the moment-to-moment, what wacky, crazy thing and over-the-top character am I going to see next, you may enjoy it a little bit more in that sense. But at the end of the day, it was still a tougher thing for me to get through than I really hoped, and I was like, man, I got my boy Anthony Wong in here. That guy's awesome. I want to see him do something. And all you see him do is just pretend to like be cartoonishly hammered for almost 2 hours. And at that point, I got to go Stephanie Brown. It's okay, but we
are all over the place.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I want to see what people think about this. It's available on Netflix as we record. So if you've seen Initial D, throw us an email, heromoviepodcast@gmail.com. We'd like to hear from you. Very curious. We got another one coming up next week that's a little bit off the beaten path as well, but also based upon a comic book. We'll talk about that here in just half a second. Until then, Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
Go check out Chubby Wizard. I've had a lot of interesting stuff there. And very recently, Chris and I reviewed a movie that you can watch on YouTube. It's a live action movie called Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe. I had very, very low expectations going into that, but it was actually, kind of entertaining. So go listen to our review of that. And if you like it, you might want to check out that movie yourself.
Cool. Sean, what else?
Kind of entertaining. Bruce Leslie.
Put it on the poster.
You can find us at Clone Wars 30 Questions. I like doing that show.
This
Clone
week
Wars
we
season
actually had something to talk about. Some things actually happened on that show, so listen to it. We're
Finally.
excited. We're excited that things are moving along at a pace now instead of just kind of running in circles for a while. So yeah, and of course over at the Film Find, Matt and I are dropping two 30-minute size. 30-minute size releases every single week. So on Mondays and Wednesdays, mostly stuff that you can stream right here and right now, from the new release stuff for like Invisible Man and all that kind of good stuff. So check it out at the Film Find, wherever you find finer podcasts. Next week, boys, we're heading back into the kind of indie comic world here and talking about Ghost World. And I think that'll be pretty good. A little young Scarlett Johansson, a little Steve Buscemi, and what's her face that no one can ever really remember her name? Thora Birch. Takes me a while to remember that one. We'll be covering that next week. Until then, for Sweet Shawnzy, Bruce Leslie, my name's Adam Portrais. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty.